I'm about to start listening to The Impossible Fortune, and I am so excited, and I'll be reacting as I listen along to the audiobook. So don't watch this if you haven't read the book yet and want to, because this will contain spoilers. I've just started chapter 20 and finished chapter 19, and up until now there hasn't been much to talk about in terms of plot, but it's been really lovely to be back with all those characters, spending time with them again. And there have been some really funny moments with Richard Osman's trademark wit and tone. So it's a bit different in that they haven't been trying to solve a murder up to this moment. They were trying to find out who wanted to kill this man, the best man of Joanna's new husband. But now someone has been blown up in a car bomb, so there is a murder now to solve as well, but it's all part of this mystery. So there are two people who had codes, which were the codes to a Bitcoin fortune, so it's 350 million that's at stake, and they told two other people. So supposedly there were only 4 people who knew about this amount of money, and only 2 of them knew the codes, and each one of them had a different code, so they couldn't do it without each other. But one of those people has just been blown up. And at this early stage, I thought it would be interesting to look back on and see what my initial thoughts were on who I thought has done it. We haven't been told much about the 2 people that were told about this money. So Lord Townsend, I can't remember the name of the other guy at the moment, so I've got nothing to go on there at the moment. So it could be those. But I get suspicious when Richard Osman tries to lead us in our suspicions in a certain direction. And he's been saying certain things about Paul, which is Joanna's new husband, which are suspicious. Like he has some dodgy family connections, and from chapter 19 to chapter 20, it was at the end of chapter 19, there was this phrase of something like someone was willing to kill for £350 million, but who? And then it went on straight on to chapter 20, and it flashes on to Paul and Joanna. So sort of subliminal messaging of be suspicious of Paul, but I'm suspicious of Richard Osman when he does things like that, and so it leads me to think it isn't Paul, but I just don't know what to think, but I've got nothing else to go on at the moment. Just finished chapter 25, and we don't know whether Nick is alive or dead at the moment, but something is definitely going on with his phone. We don't know whether somebody else has it and is pretending to be him, but I'm wondering whether maybe he does have it and is trying to make them all think that he has been kidnapped and somebody else has his phone, and is deliberately making them think that it's somebody else and not him. So he's deliberately not using the name Paolo, and deliberately didn't know the nickname for their old car, but that could be me overanalyzing it. Then I'm a bit worried about the situation with Ron's children, Jason and Susan, and what Susan's violent husband is going to do. I just couldn't bear it if something happened to one of them, and then Ron would be so sad. So there's 2 separate strands of the story at the moment. There's the one of Ron's children, and there's the one of this Bitcoin thing. And I don't feel like we've been told enough about Ravy Davy or Lord Towns yet for me to have any clue whether they're suspicious or not. So I'm at the beginning of chapter 45, and I think where this book differs from the other books is that it can be quite early on in the other books where I've figured out things that have been crucial, whereas this is very busy at the moment, so there are lots of possibilities that I can see, but I don't think we've been given anything definitive in the text that points certainly to one person. I don't think you could figure it out at this point. I mean, you could say it could be this person or this person or this person, or these people linked together in this way. But yes, I don't like that I can't figure it out yet. There's just so many things going on. So there's 2 sort of subplots. There's the Danny Lloyd thing, who's wanting to kill Jason Ritchie and Susan Ritchie, and there's the Connie Johnson subplot with Tia. Then there's this main plot of the codes in the compound and who killed Holly. So there was lots of things about Nick being kidnapped or dead. And then I thought, oh, maybe he's not dead. And now in the text, there are a few things suggesting that he might not be dead. And I'm thinking maybe he put the bomb under his own car, and he went left that note for Elizabeth, planted that deliberately. But then in the past, when in Richard Osman's books, when I've been led to think these sort of thoughts, I found that Richard Osman was steering me there very subtly. So maybe he's steering me in that direction to think maybe it's Nick. But I do think there are some people linked together. And how does Jamie Usher fit into it? Davy Noakes has obviously been in the compound, but we don't know what he did there, and nobody knows that he's been there apart from that Benson guy. But they're all focusing on the Lord townsperson because they know that he's got an appointment to go into the compound, which they think is suspicious. And we've just met that solicitor who seems to be completely useless and doesn't seem to have a clue. And we've been introduced to Jasper, who's a potential love interest for Joyce maybe. No sign of Computer Bob, however, from the other books, so no one there for Ibrahim. And I'm unsure how the different subplots are going to tie in with the main plot, or if they are, but something makes me think that they will be. I do have a little prediction, however, that when they all eventually do go down to the compound and unlock the box or safe that the codes are in, I don't think the codes are going to be there. Maybe Davy has something to do that. I've just finished chapter 51, and although I may not have a clue what's going to happen in the main plot, I'm just having the best time, and the different subplots are coming together in a very humorous manner. And so Connie and Tia turned up to Ibrahim's flat wanting to hide Tia, and then at the same time, unknown, then Ron, Jason and Kendrick also turn up wanting to hide because Jason and Kendrick have just been shot at. So all that situational irony, and Ron coming in face to face with Connie, and then Elizabeth and Bogdan turning up at Ron's a bit later on, and then Connie turning up to help. So you've got Ron, Connie, Bogdan and Jason. Goodness knows what they're going to come up with to deal with Danny Lloyd, but it's going to be good. I'm enjoying myself anyway. Richard Osman is really hitting it out of the park with the humour at the moment. It's definitely the funniest book so far, and maybe that's taken over a bit from the murder mystery sort of side, but it's still really good. And I loved when it was from Kendrick's perspective. Just a quick one on chapter 52, I think, and Elizabeth has just said what we all are thinking is that there are so many suspects that she just doesn't buy in this case. And yep, that is also the problem that I am having in trying to figure this all out. Bit of a bombshell, end of chapter 54. So the number that Holly Lewis called just before she died wasn't, although it was a working phone number, it wasn't someone she knew, it was her code. But she must have known that she was going to die then. But if it's a bomb, how do you know if you're going to die? And if you knew you're going to die, you could have got out of the car in time. So she wouldn't have got into the car if she knew there was a bomb in there. But if she'd got into the car, how would she know that there was a bomb about to go off? And so put her code into her phone to ring, so that the people investigating it would find her code. So maybe neither Holly nor Nick are dead, and they both faked their deaths so that they could just get the money and disappear without anyone sort of coming after them because they had all that money. Still at the end of chapter 53, and I'm just thinking who it could possibly be. And say I rule out Davy and Lord Towns just because that would be boring. We don't really know much about them. Could be Nick and Paul, but who else is there left that it could possibly be? I'm trying to think left field. I'm thinking Benson, the guy who operates the lift at the compound. He might have got wind of that there was this big amount of money down there. Or I severely doubt this, but Jasper is an expert in bombs, and well, he's the only person we know who is an expert in bombs. So, I hope it's not Paul, which would leave Nick. And so Nick took the bomb off his own car and put it on Holly's car and staged a lot of stuff. It'll be annoying if it's someone who we haven't sort of heard of yet, but is connected to either Holly or Nick. And so Holly or Nick told somebody else about that fortune that was in that box down in the compound, and we just don't know. End of chapter 56. And just as we, as readers or listeners in my case, have been thinking, oh, Joyce hasn't been very involved in this. It was a chapter about Joyce and she was feeling sad because she hasn't contributed much to the case. And then she mentions, oh, I might just go and see Jasper or something to that effect. And so that might, her going to see Jasper might sort of help solve the case and get that part of the code or something, because, I mean, it seems incredibly unlikely that Jasper will be the bomb maker, but he is a retired ex-spy of MI6, so even if it's not him, he might know other possible bomb makers. I'm in the middle of chapter 58 and I just want to see if I can figure something out before we're told it. So Tia and Kendrick have found something to do with the text messages, but I don't know what it is yet, and I think it's going to be probably that the code is going to be hidden in those texts somewhere. I have finished the audiobook, so I now know everything. So I think this book, as opposed to the other books in the series, focused a lot more on the humour and the relationships between the characters, and that was the main focus, as opposed to the mystery. But it's, as Joyce was saying at the end, it wasn't about, because it got very busy, and I think you could tell that with all that I was hypothesising in all my conjectures and theories. It wasn't about the busyness and the noise, it was about those quieter stories of the mother-daughter relationship between Joyce and Joanna. It was about Kendrick and his mum and her bravery, Ron getting older but still wanting to be that protector of his family, and of course Ibrahim, who is still my very most favourite character. So as someone who loves plot and intricate, masterful plotting, I did notice the shift from the focus on the mystery being part of the book, the main part of the books, to the characters and their relationships being the main focus of the book. But I think that's the strength of these books, because starting the book, I was excited to come back to these characters and spend more time with these characters, and that's exactly what I got. And it was just so wonderful and funny and warm, and I thought it was a lot funnier than the previous books. So thank you, Richard Osman. I had a great time. But also, where was Computer Bob? He wasn't mentioned once in the whole story.